Morning, friends. Welcome to your Monday Minute. I'm here with Melissa Peterson, a clinician at Mayfield Counseling Centers, and today we're talking about living up to a timeline.
It's time for your Monday Minute.
So, Melissa, as we talk about this idea of living up to a timeline, what are we really getting at?
I think timelines can be really helpful and productive if you have a plan or goals for a certain period of your life. You want to reach, within this many years or this many years, you want to be established, and that can be really helpful and structured. However, sometimes with life, expectations can fall short of what it is that we would like to have happened. Seeing others live out this seemingly structured, perfect life, and somehow you're not falling into that map.
So there's almost like this set listing of milestones that you're supposed to hit at certain periods in your life. And it sounds like that's just frustrating and disappointing. And I know from my own life that's caused turmoil. Is there anything beneficial to those timelines? Is it something that we can just throw out completely if we could find a way? Or is there something that actually has meaning in that?
We live in this day and age where we can kind of pick whatever you want to do, wherever you want to go, and however you want to get there. The resources are unlimited. We have an advance in technology that's so far advanced than even how I grew up and my parents and their parents. And so you can work anywhere you want to work. You could travel all across the country, all around the world, and work for a company in the United States while you're living in Europe. I think that there's value to holding on to the value that's important to you. Sometimes those values can be expectations. We can think, okay, I'm in my 30s. I should be married by now. I should have children, but you're not. Perhaps you're not. And how can you grapple with this part of your life, this value that you have that's not really falling into place like it may be for your friends and family?
Yeah, I think it's hard when there's this really set idea of what we're supposed to do. And it's, you're supposed to graduate before you're 20 from high school. You're supposed to graduate college sometime in your early 20s, probably get married soon after that, have a kid before your 30s, own your own house before your 30s, be a part of your career job before, 32, and then, work at that job, which I think we're actually getting away from this one, but work at that job for 30 years and then retire at 62 or something.
Yeah, especially if you look back at the previous generations. Obviously, they've also come from difficult periods of their life, we could go really far back into history and see they've dealt with economic hardship, they've dealt with war, they've dealt with social injustices, and we're now in this period of life where there's still a lot of growth that we as a society still need to grow from, but it's understanding, I think, for yourself, what can you do to give yourself space and I guess a broadening of a more open posture and open hand towards what life is currently going on for you right now.
Yeah, I think about how even just as we grow as adults away from our parents, we have to be able to assess our own values and decide what we believe. I mean, this is super prevalent in faith communities of is it your parents' faith or is it your faith? And I think there's an element of this where, that timeline maybe made more sense in that generation. And now we're running into places where it isn't fitting. And so we have to find our own timeline or set it up for ourselves. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's interesting how this shift has happened, almost kind of organically in a way. I think I'm from the generation, growing up in the 80s, 90s, that's from a period of where those traditional values and concepts are driven kind of into you. What we mentioned before, and you're graduating and getting a job and so forth. Now there's a lot more broadening and flexibility for, hey, if you don't want to go to college right after high school, you can take a year or 2 years off, or take some time to like really explore your options and your values. Um, I think that we often feel this pressure that we have to mold to what what past values or past um, concepts have helped our past family members, like our parents and our grandparents, to have success. And we are still a part of a society that strives for strong success in their life and to feel this sense of accomplishment. I think that it's how to approach this value. Is this value of having a family? Is that really something that, if it comes along, great, but what's the other possible avenue that you could actually have another open hand towards? Because as we're learning, there's just so much excelling of people who are traveling the world, who are not just focusing on that pattern of graduating high school, going to college, getting married, having that, $50,000 a year job or something like that. Like they're kind of living like nomads in a way. So it makes it kind of maybe harder or difficult for that value that you have to have more that straight line that seemed to always happen for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, if you want to continue some of this conversation, Melissa and I are going to talk a little bit sort of off air afterwards, and you can find that on the Collective. You'll see it in the description. Melissa, thank you for coming on. I feel like there's a lot to chew on as far as what are the timeline expectations that have been handed to me or that have kind of just been infused into me, and which of those are helpful, which of those are meaningful, and how can I make all of it mine? So thank you for being on. Yeah. Get yourselves through Friday. Enjoy the weekend, and I'll see you back on Monday.